Okay, so last Schoology, I think for the year even. Ooh, that'll be nice for you. I think this is the last one. What we want to do is talk about this situation that we started in class, dealing with the idea of income inequality. Basically what we're talking about is that girl that I gave you the scenario, the girl who, through no fault of her own, parents passed away, growing up in foster care, all of those issues that surround it, and then what do we do with her situation? We want to talk about the income inequality in America, meaning the fact that we have a gigantic divide between the rich and the poor, and is this a problem? What we can look at, first of all, is factors for income. In other words, the level of your education has a direct impact on the amount of money that you earn. So we see that if you have less than a high school education, the average, meaning some make more, obviously, there's always outliers, and some make a lot less. The average income for a male is $25,000, and for a female is $18,000. One of the key things is think about the jobs that are available, that are stereotypically available for low-skill men versus women. Men have the option of construction much more likely than women do, and they tend to pay better. Most unskilled women end up working in either retail or restaurants, specifically waiting tables, those kind of things. We can see that you simply stay 4 more years in school, finish at high school, you're talking $39,000 for men, so you're talking about a $14,000 increase per year. An associate degree is a 2-year income. Your income jumps by $9,000. And with a bachelor's degree, the average is $71,000. Now, the key, again, is going to be what are you majoring in? Mr. Colvin obviously doesn't make $71,000. I've been very honest about what I make. Oh, you jerk. I hate that thing. Thought I had it off. I make $42,000. But I'm also only 5 years out from my bachelor's degree. I actually have a master's degree, and I definitely don't make $87,000. But had I gotten a master's degree in business administration, a master's degree in engineering, I would make more than $87,000. Professional degrees are going to be things like doctors and lawyers. And you can see that the longer you stay in school, the more on average that you earn. Why is this important? Well, because we look at this and realize that the more education you have, the more likely you are to be able to pay for yourself, to take care of yourself. So we invest in the state of Minnesota $13.7 billion each year on K through 12 education. 13.7. It is by far the largest expense in the state of Minnesota. And why do we spend this? Because it's not a debt, it's an investment. We view this as a chance to make our workforce more educated and more able to take care of themselves and provide for themselves. The more money you make, the more you can pay back in taxes then. Well, we want to take a look at a couple of programs then that deal with poverty, because we do have social safety nets. Welfare is any assistance to low-income families. That's what we generally describe it as. We can look at this as traditional food stamps, and those are coupons used to buy certain food goods. WIC, which is government cheese, government essentials, milk, stuff that's provided to women, infants, and children, low income, typically single mothers. TANF, which is temporary assistance to needy families. This is cash payments to needy families that can be used for things. A lot of this comes in the form of after some kind of emergency, some kind of life-altering situation. It's not something that's regular. That's why it's temporary. And then Section 8 housing. We will again provide affordable housing to people who can't afford it on their own. Now, a lot of people complain about welfare because the concern is, well, why am I paying for their stuff? Well, we have to remember again, the goal of a public policy is to ask the question, does it make society better off or worse off? Does it improve society? And I don't mean just for the people receiving welfare, but also for the people who aren't. In other words, if we don't provide these options, will I be better off? Am I better off with children who are living in the street? Am I better off with parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs so that and their kids are growing up by themselves? And there's an argument on both sides. In addition, we have the Earned Income Credit, which is a tax credit that allows them to get money back if they don't make enough. So people who pay taxes and are working but don't make much money and fall below a certain threshold, the government will give them money back. So they'll actually get more money back in taxes than they paid. In the 90s, we had something called workfare, which was a big push. It was the idea of welfare reform, and it requires people to actually work in order to get benefits. And people look at this as the right move, because what we want to do is not have people dependent on the government. If you're able to work and are willing to work, we should require you to do something. So workfare oftentimes is if you're only working in a low-income job that doesn't provide a subsistence level standard of living, we're going to do things to try and help you make ends meet. Typically, this is community service. We'll have people running daycares. We'll have people providing food. We'll do all sorts of things as far as improving the community in exchange for government assistance. Very, very few states require this. Minnesota does not require it, as far as I'm aware, but we do have workfare. Now we get back to tax policies. In other words, our rules. What is our focus of tax? What are we trying to do with taxes? And it really comes down to this big question of to redistribute or not. In other words, should we take money from the rich or give to the poor? Is that what our society is set up in a way to do? Should we be trying to raise the bottom by lowering the top? Well, we do this through a progressive tax policy. What we mean by that is the more money you make, the more the percentage you pay, not just the more dollars, the more the percentage that you pay. In other words, if I make $100,000, my tax rate is 30%, so I pay $30,000. If I make $10,000, my percentage goes down. So the obvious thing is you go, oh, if you make $10,000, then you pay 30%, you pay $3,000. No, a progressive tax has $10,000 and a 10% rate, and then you would only pay $1,000. And we can see the inherent debate in here. If you make $100,000, can you live off of $70,000? Well, yeah. If you make $10,000, can you live off of $7,000? No. But on the other hand, you can't live off of $10,000 at all. So the question is, what is a fair way? On the other hand, somebody says, well, I worked hard for this. I earned this $100,000. I made choices that put me in a position to make $100,000. That's why you shouldn't take a greater percentage. So if I'm going to pay 30%, so should the poor person. Again, what we can see, and this is a statement of that chart, the percentage of income in America. We see that 35% of people in this country, 35% of individuals in this country make $25,000 a year or less. And for those of you thinking that $100,000 is no big deal, oh, my parents make $100,000, my mom makes it, oh, that's no big deal, that's average. No, that's not. In America, only 7% of individuals in this country make $100,000 or more. In fact, if you look at me, Mr. Colvin, I am in the 36%, the $25,000 to $50,000. If you look at my household, we are actually, now it jumps though because we both have decent paying jobs, and we are in the top 11%. That's the purple column. My wife and I combined make over $80,000 a year. We are combined above average. Myself, I am below average. So this is what we see. Lastly, we talk about who actually pays taxes. I don't expect you to copy this chart down. I want you to have a general understanding, so you might want to write down just a summary statement that this. Who pays taxes? The top 1% of people in this country, the richest 1% of people, meaning people who make $388,000 or more, pay 39% of taxes. The top 5% pay 60% of all taxes. The top 10% pay 70%. And most importantly, let's just skip down to here. The top 50% of people in this country who make $31,000 a year or more pay 97% of the taxes. The bottom 50%, those making less than $31,000, only pay 3% of all taxes. And again, this is what we see is this fair? Well, I can't answer that for you. You have to decide for yourself how you want to vote. But this is the big debate. Should we redistribute or shouldn't we? And this comes down to who has the wealth. So I put this into a pie chart to help you visualize this. If you look at the green, the top 1%, the richest 1% of people have 38% of all of the money. The top 10% add another 33%. So the top 10% add the 38 and 33% of all money. The bottom 40% get this big of a slice. They share this big of a slice, while the top 1% share this. And you can see then this big debate. We will talk about this Monday. Have a good day.